If you just joined us, this is The Press. We're reaching you live from Kaftan Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now, let's go straight to our conversation for today. We have, okay, first, I have my partner in the studio, Francis Adeniyi.
Good to be with you here on this show again today. Annabel, how are you?
Great, awesome.
You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, why not allow me to introduce?
Okay.
All right, we have Obadiah Mbila, Lovewalk CEO. It's great to have you on the show again.
Good to be here again.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so our phone lines are open, so you can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Now we'll go straight to the headlines. We'll start with the Punch newspaper. Quite the number of stories. When you already sleep from the weekend and then wake up, you already know what you would find in the headlines.
Exactly.
But we'll start with the shake-up you have in the ministerial designate. President Tinubu decided to re-Christian some ministries, and then in some parts he decided to do a reassign some ministers. I recall a few days ago where the social media went agog with regards to the minister of youth, and then they say, how come you use an over 60-year-old person and make him a minister to head the youths? And then, but now you've seen that he has been moved straight to Niger Delta. That's one on the side. And then secondly, FCT now has a new landlord, and everywhere you go on social media, it's screaming FCT new landlord. Beware of the small corners you have, the small roads you have, because it might be moved away. Let's talk about the minister decision. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think Mr. President has just done a minor reshuffling of his cabinet, and he and his kitchen cabinet knows the reason behind this. We may not have the details as yet. However, I was a little bit troubled. I thought he has dropped the idea of a Minister of Niger Delta, and here he's coming again. For all intent and purpose, I have been asking the question, what role does the ministry has to play in the development of Niger Delta that is different from what NDDC was statutorily established to carry out? So for me, I think it's an area that is not yet clear, overlapping activities and functions here and there. And you remember that when the present Senate President was in charge of the Niger Delta ministry, for almost the entire period of his stay as a minister, there was always the problem with infighting inside.
Who is answerable to whom?
I don't really know what was the cause, but the Niger Delta Development Corporation was never stable under his administration. We saw for a whole year or so an administrator running the business of Niger Delta Development Commission. So I thought that under the watch of President Tinubu, there will be corrective measures to make sure that this overlapping is stemmed down. Well, we, the residents of FCT, have been blessed to have a new landlord, a new mayor, who is known to the world as a no-nonsense guy. So what that means is
commissioning governor.
What that means to land racketeers is that it's no longer business as usual, unless the character of the man we know changes. But if it remains the Wike that we know, land racketeers, double documentation of land in FCT, and then of course the inside business should be brought to a check. And then of course I hope that he recognized the agitation in the mind of the indigents and see how it can be addressed. Thank God one of them is a minister in the person of Gisalo, Honorable Zephaniah Giselo, a very good man. So I do hope that our new landlord will give good account of himself.
But then, sorry, I had a button.
Yeah.
But then you have some people who would complain that, in fact, what we saw on social media, some people came out to say that maybe he'll go and check the PDP house, the Wadata house, and find out if you don't have CFO, throwing them away and all that. And then some people use that to say that it means most of the estates that you have, they might be going down anytime soon. And I recall yesterday I was going somewhere and I saw a particular structure coming up in a gray area and things like that, and they just begin to wonder, but they gave these people the go ahead to build in that place. So how positive are you sure that we're going to see these things, ensure that they stop, and then it doesn't become like political vendetta like some people think?
Let me say this to many people who do not really know who Wike is. Wike loves PDP. I can say that anywhere. He actually stood for PDP when every other person was running. And I don't see him as one who wants to collapse PDP. However, the fact that some group of people within the party were like, we are the owners of the party. And then he decided to throw the spanner in the aquarium just to test who really
owns the party. I doubt whether Wike would want a party that he helped to build, to collapse totally. Or go to Wadata Plaza to pull it down, as some people alleged. I greatly respect him as one who believes in his conviction. If he's convinced about a thing, he goes out to do it. So I don't expect that he will come on a vendetta mission, against PDP. If he would have done that, probably the ticket of APC would have flied in River State. But he still made sure that PDP is delivered in River State. I don't know whether he is now in APC
or he might decide to
he remains in PDP.
That is still a topic that will be up for discussion. The man himself comes out to give a clear explanation of where he stands. But before we leave this Wike as the minister designate of the Federal Capital Territory, sometimes last week I was involved in a little argument with someone, a politician, and some of his comments really came to me as a surprise. Talking about the FCT, and one of his comments was the fact that the FCT was not built for the poor. The FCT was not built for the poor, and this was coming as a response to the fact that there will be so much demolitions, and there will be
a return into the master plan.
A return into the real master plan of the FCT. But then, at the end of the day, in as much as there are cities that are not necessarily built for the poor, but you cannot. There are no laws in place that stops people from moving from one place to another. There are no laws in place that stops people from moving from one state to another. That's on one side, and on the other side, in as much as there are places where the poor cannot afford, the poor deserves a decent shelter. So, in respect to this, what are your expectations from Wike in terms of, because I can tell you authoritatively that in Abuja here, that in the FCT right now, we still have people who are still sleeping under bachas. We still have people who are still sleeping under the bridges. So as regards decent shelter. What are your expectations from Wike?
Well, I don't know whether they say FCT was not built for the poor or Abuja was not built for the poor.
I was just quoting the person.
Yes, you appreciate the fact that there is a whole lot of difference between Abuja and FCT. In FCDA, I do know that they have a department they call Satellite Town Development Agency. It is a parastatal within FCDA. And the meaning of satellite town,
the suburbs,
means, I think it simply means outside Abuja, outside the main capital, Abuja. I believe that these satellite towns are being developed so that it can accommodate those who cannot buy houses in Meitama, Sokoro, Kado, and so on and so forth. Now, we don't expect that if you go to Ibadan, GRA, then a poor person will come to the GRA to buy a property. That such a person is no longer a poor person. If poor in this context is to describe the low-income earners, it simply means there is a space for you, but it's not within the Abuja metropole. So FCT has room for the poor, but Abuja as a metropolitan city is costly, and it will be foolhardy for a poor person who's supposed to manage a space in Gwagwalada, in what do you call it, Buhari, even Kubwa where I live, you know, and then you are eyeing Asokoro or any of such highbrow area. I think the person should be examined, you know. So Abuja is a costly city. So
in a nutshell, it means that Abuja is not only for the rich, there's still a provision for the low-income earners.
Exactly.
I hope you heard that. All right, let's move straight to other stories. Daily Trust reports Benin, Niger, Togo, or Nigeria 132.2 billion naira energy bills in 4 years. And I was wondering when I read that headline, how come we're just finding out now? And then another headline says ECOWAS, or in fact almost all of the headlines says ECOWAS reject Niger's junta Niger's junta's 3-year transition plan. Then you have pro-coup protesters warn ECOWAS against military action. Pope calls for peace in Niger Republic. The Guardian says Niger coup and economic sanctions. 7 states in dire straits. Economic losses over border closure. Let's put all of this together in one basket. Help us unbundle.
Yeah, the debt owed by some of these neighboring West African countries has been in public domain. It's just that maybe for the purpose of emphasis it's being recycled. I remember talking about that of Niger Republic sometime last week or a week before last. So it's coming up because of the military action in Niger Republic. Nigeria has been playing this big brother thing to most of these neighboring countries, and I think it's to our own detriment.
So why is it sounding like you know you're owing us money, so you better respect yourself?
Maybe it's a reason to discourage the military juntas who appear prepared to hang on to power. Imagine a military incursion dictating the pace of discussion. They are now setting agenda for discussion. This is unacceptable. To say that you remain in power for 3 years, an unelected person now deciding, if they really meant well for the country, why not say 6 months? At most 1 year. And by the way, what are we waiting for in all these years? There was a constitutionally elected government in place. So why not pull back and let all the corrective measures that you intend to employ be handed over to the constitutionally elected president.
But then you have some people who are arguing that after all, it does look like the typical African or Nigerian thing. If you don't want to be the military, don't worry, I'll remove my khaki and go with Agbada. Is that what you want?
Yeah, you know, sometimes people don't really understand what it takes to win an election. It's not easy to fund a campaign and then eventually to win the people's heart so that you could be voted in. So for me, what the juntas are doing is playing politics in their khaki, which is condemnable. But be that as it may, I think it's also the weakness of our leaders that is creating room for military takeover. You know, we saw what happened during the electioneering, and such thing can give room for the khaki men to penetrate. So we must put our houses in order so that there will be no room meant for the entry of the military. I congratulate Nigerians, you know. I was putting something together the other day about my first visit to National Assembly in 1999. And by the time I look at my calendar, I realized that by next year we would have had a silver jubilee. A democracy that has run for 25 years is a reason to applaud Nigerians and also to congratulate the military for keeping their words. I do hope that we will celebrate 50 years, you know, of untruncated democracy. That would be wonderful.
Okay, let's look at.
Have we finished with the Niger border closure?
Yes.
Okay.
That is now affecting our states like Sokoto, Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, and so on and so forth. That is another challenge that is impacting negatively on Nigerians. So what they did in Niger is affecting our economy in Nigeria. So that is why
it even affects them also.
Of course,
I saw a video of where some of their farmers are complaining that their product, onions, they're all going still. Like they say, once it affects the nose, the eyes will bleed.
Exactly. So it is a two-way thing. It's affecting, we are talking from the Nigerian perspective, where it's affecting us. But theirs is even worse because, like we have noted severally, they depend on Nigeria for so many things, for the marketing of their products. Even as Nigeria depends on them also, the closure of their air route is not, it's a telling so hard on Nigerians, you know. So it's a two-way thing. Yeah.
Okay, just before you...
I think we should just quickly take this call before you go ahead. Sorry. Okay. Good morning.
Beautiful morning to you, Annabel. Mr. Francis, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Citizen Elder Obadiah, good morning. You are on.
Thank you. You got me, Elder.
Good morning, Asani from Lagos. Go ahead.
Let me quickly appreciate Kaftan TV for giving us this ample opportunity to say our mind, and also let me appreciate Senior Citizen Elder Obadiah.
Thank you.
Beautiful analysis this early morning. Thank you very much, sir, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And then, let me appreciate Mr. President for reviewing the ministerial appointees before the swearing in. To me, this is a very good example to show that the leadership now has an opening ear, or rather I say listening ear. It means that possibly there may be another changes even in the proceeding of discharging their duty, because it shows that anybody who is not capable, believing me, there will be changes in this ministerial. So let us wait and see, and then also pray for them, because what we are talking about is not regional issue, it's not partisan issue, it's not tribal issue, and so on and so forth. We are talking about national development. And like I always made mention, when it comes to national development and in what we see, what we see in the history of this country, irrespective of religious differences, political differences, tribal issues, all these our forefathers sit together together and face the reality. That is the nation. Because we witnessed that in the late Mala Americano, Saka, Namdia Zikwe, Awolowo, and so on and so forth. And they did pretty well. Today we are benefiting from what they did for us. So let us emulate their footsteps and do the needful, the betterment of this country. And then secondly, for the junta of Niger, given 3 years time frame, believing me, to me, it's an open space for discussion. And they know that. They know that there is no how a court community will appreciate that 3 years. There is no how. And there are so many implications on that. The only thing is we don't usually go and into Niger Republic news and so on and so forth. Believe me, they were suffering more than what we are suffering. Even though I know we have so many losses in economic, like the way you talk, Niger and Yobe, Zamfara, Kedi, Kano, Sokoto, and so on and so forth. They have 7 state borders with Niger. So believe me, the consequences is there. But to me, it's an open space. Possibly they might reach a situation whereby it will end up 1 year maximum. So I hope and pray before the military intervention, this will be nice for them to sit down and discuss. Because when we are talking about military intervention, it has to do with money. Then you ask yourself, how much money Nigerian government are going to spend on this military intervention? Let us not witness what happened in Liberia, Sierra, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, Nigerians suffer for it. So thank you very much, SMD from Lagos, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, SMD from Lagos. Always a pleasure hearing from you.
Thank you so much, SMD. I was going to go back to the military junta in Niger Republic. Now, the ECOWAS have rejected their 3-year transition plan. Of course, you know, for a 3-year transition plan for a military junta, a whole lot can happen within that 3 years. The constitution of the land can be amended to return them as the democratically elected president in Niger. A whole lot can happen. But at this point now, what do you think should be the next step for ECOWAS, saying that we cannot afford a military intervention that's on the part of ECOWAS? And of course, when we talk ECOWAS, much of it is talking about Nigeria, because Nigeria will provide most of the funding. Nigeria will provide most of the men on ground. What is the way forward at this point?
I smell something that the juntas have not really said. To give themselves 3 years means a lot. And they have also decided to amend the constitution. The committee has already is being put in place for constitutional amendment. I'm always scared when a military government decides to give constitution for democracy. There's still no balance now. So I guess they want to work themselves into power, one, and use that long period of time to prosecute a legitimately elected president, because they have vowed to prosecute the president, the ousted president,
Mohamed
Bazoum. So I just wish there would continue to be more judges. Eventually, if talk didn't work, it simply means they are inviting aggression. And Nigeria, ECOWAS, should not sit at the limbo. They should not sit back and watch things go bad that way, especially in Nigeria, because whatever thing they are doing in Niger, we are the first country that receives a whole lot of the impact. We have just read out how much they are owing Nigerians in energy, you know. So the other day, what do you call it? The energy I bought finished very late in the night, and therefore I couldn't have light till the following morning. Here in Nigeria, we have put strategies to make sure that every debt owed to the energy concerns are recovered. And I continue to wonder why such system has not been activated for these other countries, so that you pay as you consume.
It's really sad. Let's go straight to other stories. Nigerian Tribune says Bawa's remand order has expired. Release him, Falana tells DSS. Now, the suspended CBN governors incarcerations, like some people will call it, has been on the news for days, and then his trial has been in the news for days, and they were just wondering how come we're not hearing anything about the suspended EFCC boss. And now it looks like he's been forgotten about. That's why you have the Leonard Silk come out to scream and say, please, his remand order has expired, release him. Why do we have to go this route again? And like some people would ask, I would bring it to you, is this political vendetta again?
Well, you know that Bawa stepped on so many toes, and during the short period of his stay as the chair of EFCC, so much was reported about corruption directly linked to him and his men. The Zamfara state governor came out to the public and declared that he was asked to pay so and so amount of money. We have had news of people who come to say that we were able to obtain bail from EFCC custody after paying so much money. So much money. So, and it appears no one is on his side, because people have been drumming release MFLA campaign. Some lawyers have come out, some civil society organization, non-governmental organization.
Made it tribalistic.
You know, I don't know why no one is asking for the release of Bawa. I don't know. Me, I would like to think that those he offended should have been the people to be going for his interest, be championing release Bawa, this thing. But they felt that why
those he offended should be the one
should have been the
championing
one his release.
Why would they want to champion for his release when he offended?
That's why I'm saying.
That means if he hadn't offended them,
yes.
But then it doesn't mean that in the course of discharging your duty, in the course of overseeing a commission that has been set up with legal rights,
a statutory
commission to look into all forms of financial misappropriations. Do you think there are still toes that they should not step upon, even if they are involved in financial activities that negates that goes against the constitution of the land?
My dear Frank, you know that if we are very frank as far as this matter is concerned, EFCC has been used by succeeding government to hunt perceived enemies, and they too usually look the other way if the person involved is a friend. We have had cases of people who report their offenses to EFCC, and it was not investigated. We have had others also who they didn't receive any complaint, no report, but they jump into investigation. You know, so that is the political aspect of EFCC and other agencies like ICPC that is not really sweet, it's not palatable. We are yet to find people of integrity, who will not be bribed, who will not be coerced to doing that which is wrong. You know, so that's the fate of Bauer. But I just hope that all things being equal, they should allow the law to take its course.
All right. All right, let's go to the Guardian newspaper. Two headlines I would like you to take together, even as we begin to manage our time. Says Forex crisis, worry over policy inconsistencies as CBN brings back BDCs. I recall the last administration, how they threw some BDCs out of the window, and now you have this current CBN administration bringing back some of these BDCs again. And then some people are saying, so why bring them back? So would I allow you to talk on that? And then the second one is condemnation trails rowdy distribution of palliatives in Lagos. I hate to use that word palliative. In fact, I just dislike that word palliative. So, but now you have it. Does it look like this 5 billion naira to each state? Are we going back to all that happened during the COVID-19 stampede and what happened in some ambush in some warehouses?
Well, let me first address this policy inconsistency, which is not telling well on our economy. The last time MFL addressed us on money change, currency change, till now, as a public affairs analyst, I don't know whether we have really changed from the old money to the new money.
I saw a particular headline that says we have just 133 days to the old naira deadline.
You see?
And some Nigerians have even forgotten that there's a deadline.
No, we have. Because why wouldn't we forget? We are using both the colored one and the uncolored one, you know, hand in hand. Sometimes if you put money in your wallet, you discover that the old ones are even more.
Yes, definitely.
You know? So, where are we? Are we really implementing this change of color, or are we discarding it? If we are discarding it, what happens to the new money that has been in circulation already?
And what happens to the money that was spent in printing
these things? So this is where our government is not doing very well. Policy inconsistency. We said that the Bureau de Change is aiding money laundering. So they must go. They left, or at least we thought they have left, even though they were still clandestine operation here and there in the black market.
And they have the license to operate.
Of course. Now again, you are saying that you are bringing them back. Like as I said, they have not really gone. Now you are giving them official platform to continue the operation. Where are we going with this type of inconsistency? So this is not good for us. Now talking about the palliative. Palliative? Again, after the failure of palliative of 2020, we are here again in 2023 talking about palliative. Here is a country where the state governors do not have the data, correct data of who is who in my state. How many people are into trading? How many people are into farming? How many people are unemployed? They don't have such data. And you are giving them palliative to go and distribute so that you cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Now, what is going to be the method of distribution of this palliative so that everyone could get it? My dear, during the COVID, they sent some people from Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, you know, to go and take census of people. You know, they wrote down names.
Their social register.
In their register. Can I tell you, not up to 2% of those whose name found entry into their social register received anything. They cornered it, distributed it the way they like. Meanwhile, your name is there. They can even affix some certain amount in your name, an amount that you did not collect. Here it is going to play out again. We are beginning with the outcome of Lagos distribution. We are yet to check into what is happening in other states. I can assure you that some governors will convert this palliative, as it is called, as a welfare for their party men. So all those that worked for them during the election, here is a payback time.
Quite sad. All right, our time is fast spent, but if you can just help us in 2 minutes. The Daily Sun says Shehu Sani mocks El-Rufai, calls him reggae artist. I'm just wondering, what is it with Senator Shehu Sani and the former governor of Kaduna State? They'll help us talk about that one. And then secondly, on social media, okay, we'll take that social on the side where you have the former Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu. His son former deputy, I beg your pardon, where his son had a wedding last weekend, and then you had people who came out to lambast and say, why would your father and your mother be in prison because of their children, and you think that it is right for you to go and get married? What are your thoughts on that?
It's laughable. Should the young man now remain single so that we can now conclude that he is respecting his father? Is that the wish of his father, that his son will remain unmarried because he is locked up? I think every father should be happy when your son, you know, is taken to marriage. You should be happy. And I think Ike Ekweremadu, despite the agony he is passing through, should be happy. So those that are criticizing the young man, I think they are not right. The other thing that would have worried me if it was an extravagant type of wedding. Okay,
the person that actually criticized, let's just go straight to our social media from here. It's from Joe Ibokwe, that's the APC chieftain. He said, if I were to be the Ekwemadu's son, I would not have staged this elaborate wedding ceremony with my father and mother in prison. I would have done a low-key marriage ceremony and wait till my parents are free. This generation scares me stiff. And then someone tells him that, Ebo, Joe Ibokwe, I understand your point, but for the status of Ekweremadu, this wedding is not elaborate. And he came back to say that it could have been done it could have not been done at all. The wedding could not have been planned at all. It does not make any sense to me. May my children not do this to me. 1 million well-to-do big men in I noticed in the photo can never take place of a father who is in custody for trying to save the life of his own daughter. God help this generation. Well,
the response of the young man to Joe Ibokwe's ranting.
Is that a rant?
Yeah, because sometimes he goes to the business that does not concern him directly. So I don't see any reason why he should be talking about the affairs of that young man. Frankly speaking, it would be wrong for the young man to do an elaborate wedding. It simply means that he is not touched, or even if he is touched, he is telling the public, I don't really care. I don't care. So that's it. I congratulate the newly married, though, and wish that our man, Ikoha Ndibo, will find his way to come and embrace a grandchild of his. I think that would be his joy. Talking about El-Rufai and Shehu Sani, you see, there are two different people in two different worlds. While conservative El-Rufai is seeing things from a different perspective, the socialite, the people's senator, Shehu Sani, is seeing things from a different perspective, and you cannot place both of them in the and ask the people to choose. Many will go for Shehu Sani. Unlike what we used to think, that El-Rufai was. When he was the minister of FCT, he became a bride to be courted. People love his, action to correct the master plan of FCT. In fact, a guy noted the other day that since El-Rufai left FCT, we've never had any FCT minister. And that is the truth. Because other ministers will sit down, ration the contracts that comes to their friends, to their brothers, and so on and so forth. One of the FCT ministers was reportedly distributed over 2,000 plots of land to indigenes of his states. So that was what they were doing. Let's hope that the coming of Wike will bring back the good days of El-Rufai. So I don't see El-Rufai and Shehu Sani playing on the same page. It's not possible.
All right. Thank you so much, Obadiah Mbila, CEO, Lovewalk Media. It's always a pleasure having this Monday talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you once again for joining us.